Hello and welcome. You are listening to an informed take on current events brought to you by law students and staff of Queen's University, Belfast. This is LawPod.
Hello and welcome to LawPod. My name is Tamara and today I'm delighted to welcome Sara Fegan and Rosie Rothwell from Allen Overy. So if I'm right in saying you are both Queen's University graduates, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
How does it feel to be back on QUB soil?
Oh, well, for me, it's been quite a while. Rosie, not so long, but for me, quite a while. So it's lovely to see this new building and all these new facilities that are here that didn't exist in my day. So it's very impressive. Good to be back.
Definitely, yeah. It's only been 2 years for me since I was last here, but seems like a lot's changed, lots of new faces on campus.
Yeah,
Glad to be
it's nice
back.
to have a bit of a buzz about the place as well, because obviously with COVID and everything, I don't think many people were on campus, so it's lovely to see kind of
coming back to life.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess what I'm interested in knowing is really, Sara, first of all, what was your route into law, and then what is your area in law, and why did you choose it?
Okay, sure. Well, I had a fairly traditional route into law in that the subjects I enjoyed and was decent at school were the ones that were you were naturally encouraged then towards law. So, I mean, I didn't have any lawyers in the family, no real experience of what the study of law might be, but I went with the career recommendations, read a bit about the courses, and I like facts. I like learning sets of rules. I don't know what that says about my personality, but I thought that it sounded all very interesting. So yes, off I went to study law. I did my undergraduate degree at Oxford, and I thought it was really, really interesting, challenging, but really interesting course. For me in particular, at school you learn an awful lot of facts and dates, and as long as you recite them in a coherent format, you'll do pretty well. But the law degree was something different in that you had to challenge everything. You had to think for yourself and apply sets of facts in different ways, which was really rewarding experience for me. So when I came back to Northern Ireland after my law degree and did a master's here at Queen's, and then followed that up with my practical training at the Institute, also at Queen's. That was me really. I joined a local firm, which is now the Belfast office of Pinsent Masons. Was there for 8 years and then moved to Allen Overy, where I've been happily ever since.
I mean, that is a traditional route into law, and
Absolutely.
obviously for you at such a young age to decide to go into that, it's obviously paid off and you're still enjoying what you're doing. So
still enjoying what I'm doing, yes. And I've ended up being a corporate lawyer, which again, there's nobody in the family in business. I don't know anybody in corporate law, but I think from day one as a trainee in my corporate seat, it was something that just really appealed to me. There's no two transactions are the same. There's different businesses work in different ways. There's different sectors. There's different clients who can be trickier than others, and it's just trying to problem solve in different ways every day.
And what about you, Rosie, then? What was your route into law?
So I graduated in 2020, and then ever since I've been working at Allen Overy as a legal professional. I applied in March of 2020, and then I started in August of 2020, and I'm really enjoying it so far. All the different practice areas that I've been able to experience. The good thing about A&O Belfast is it follows the route of the seat rotations that you would get at a training contract in London. I've been in banking, then in litigation, and now I'm in corporate, so you get a real sense of what a commercial law is, which has been really exciting.
And so far with the rotations then, what would be your favourite, or are there any that you still have to do that you're maybe looking forward to doing?
I'm looking forward to and enjoying corporate so far. Obviously
Sarah's
biased because Sarah's the senior associate of corporate, but I enjoy banking as well, and just the variety of work and tasks that you might get.
Perfect. And is there anything really for you, Sarah, that most excites you about practicing law, apart from facts?
No facts and rules. I'm so exciting. I think it is what I've said earlier about how, nothing is the same. So even if on paper you're doing another merger or acquisition, it's not just another one. There's a whole new set of facts, frameworks. So you have to find your way out of that particular puzzle, which is completely different from the one you probably did last week. I think the other thing I enjoy about law is that the practice of law has moved on so much in my time, even. I sound like I'm 100, I feel like it sometimes, but it has come a long way from that traditional stuffy perception I think everybody has of it, and maybe it once was, but that's certainly not the case now. And what attracted me to the role I'm in at the moment at Allen Overy was because they were doing something different from the norm. I didn't have to follow that career path that can be quite tricky for women, or certainly was at the time, to get above a certain level. I was able to choose to do something new and quite innovative, and that was quite attractive, particularly to be able to do it in Northern Ireland.
I think what you said about the problem solving, that's a big thing for me as well, that I like about law, and that even though you have your structure and maybe how you go about solving a problem, it's that every client is different, and you almost have to learn a bit about their business and what they do for you to apply your legal knowledge to
that's absolutely
solving their problem.
Absolutely right. And that's the only way that the client will then trust you, and you'll be able to add value to them and what they're doing. And actually what has been really interesting for me is learning quite early on that relationships are as important as your knowledge of the law and the sector. And so I think that keeps everything fresh.
Definitely, especially in Northern Ireland, because it is so small here. I do think you need to have the working relationships, and everything's referrals and word of mouth. So if you have a good relationship with a client and do a good job, they're definitely happy with you and will refer you on to others. It's actually quite nice to have that relationship instead of it being so cutthroat. So can you tell us any standout moments in your career?
I think I've been very lucky in my career that I've been able to work on very high profile transactions and also very high value transactions. But actually, I was saying to Rosie earlier, they aren't the ones that stand out in my mind as the highlights. It's always been something that has taken my skill set to the next level, or has maybe been the start of a very fruitful relationship with a particular client, or has taken our team to the next step. Those are the things that stand out, particularly within A&O now, and this being different to the traditional model. It's been great to see how different projects and pieces of work that we're involved in have taken us to the next level in terms of complexity of work that's coming into us, or what partners and clients are trusting us with their most high profile work. So I think that for me is really the highlight.
Yeah, brilliant. And what about you, Rosie?
I mean, I'm just starting off in my career journey really, but standout moments, the project I'm working on recently actually, although it's litigation and some people don't really like it that much, but I actually wasn't really enjoying this recent project I've been on. No, it was quite a high profile sort of matter, and it was just really interesting to be able to get involved, and we've just had a lot of new LPs join us, so it was quite interesting to take a more leadership role and mentor them a bit as well. So I really enjoy that aspect of the sense of collaboration, I suppose, in between all of the different levels of straight from LP all the way to senior associate.
And I would say even for you as well, if you have new LPs coming in, from a personal point of view, you are able to see how you've grown and developed even in the short time you've been there, and being able to take on that mentorship role obviously means a lot for you, and gives you confidence that you are doing well and that you're progressing, which is brilliant.
Yeah, completely. That's it. Yeah.
Perfect. And touching on what you said earlier, Sarah, about the modern approach to practicing law, especially for females. I had seen recently that Allen Overy were named the Times top 50 employers for women for the third year in a row. So what do you think A&O are maybe doing differently to other firms that have made them secure this place?
Most firms, if not all firms, can talk the talk and have the policies, or maybe just paying lip service to the fact. One of the things that attracted me to Allen Overy is to see that actually in action. They are constantly putting in place policies particularly applicable to women. We have really great maternity pay. We've got shared parental leave. We've got adoption leave. We've got fertility leave. We've got something I have availed of quite a lot recently, emergency family leave, which was very, very important during the COVID lockdowns, just to be able to balance all of those competing factors. So there's a whole package of paid leave in place there to support people with, not just females, but quite a lot of caring responsibilities do fall on women, and we have a lot of support in place there. There's a lot of one-to-one coaching services available for women as well when they're trying to move up to different levels. And it's not a one-size-fits-all either. It's very much bespoke and tailored to where people are in their career and where they want to move to from that. I mean, I think on top of that, it's always been important to me to see how those policies actually play out, in real life, not just words on a page. And certainly in A&O Belfast, I think it's very telling when we look at our sort of leadership structure. There's so many women in the senior positions. The head of advanced delivery is Angela Clesta. Our head of Belfast office is Naomi Buchanan. On our management team, the majority of the managing associates are female as well. So for me, it really showed that actually they have these policies in place, but are practically making a difference. So that was very, very telling for me.
That made it stand out for me as well. That attracted me to A&O Belfast when I was doing my research on all the firms and what I could apply for. And A&O Belfast really stood out because of the level of seniority that was female, and all of these women, Sarah being one of them, that took the management role, and then obviously Angela, and then also our Chief Operating Officer, Patricia Rogers. And I think that makes A&O Belfast really stand out amongst its competitor firms that are maybe a bit more male-dominated, especially senior roles, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I think just touching on that, Rosie and I know each other obviously from QUB Women in Law Committee, so it's a great lean-in circle for females that are studying law in Queen's. And when you touched on the flexible working in COVID, I'm a career changer. I have a son of 6 years old, and whenever we were in lockdown and he was at home instead of at school, you're teaching, working, parent, everything. You're kind of one size fits all, really, aren't you? So it's good that you had that flexible working in place. How did that help you get through that lockdown? If you have a busy family life, obviously that was important to you.
Absolutely. I think that A&O really did go out of their way to support their staff during that time, which was extremely stressful for everyone, but particularly when you're juggling children alongside everything. So I have 3 boys, 6, 4 and 2. So you can imagine life is lively.
Yeah, I mean, I have one at 6 and that's lively enough for me. So kudos to you for getting through that.
Yeah, when the first lockdown happened, the first day that the Belfast team worked from home was actually my first day back from maternity leave. So I didn't actually make it back to the office and had to dive straight into working from home without sort of settling back in the sort of normal way. But it definitely was challenging. We were trying to, as a business, figure out how we could keep going with everyone working remotely, everyone juggling all these additional responsibilities. So we were very lucky in that we had direction from the top very quickly that your family is the priority, we'll work around it, and everyone was very flexible. We have a big and solid team in Belfast, so it was easy to be, could you cover that because I have to be on a Zoom call for French Club now, but I can pick it up again later. Those sorts of things were regular occurrences. I think because everybody was in the same boat as well, clients and other offices alike, it definitely did help. We had some interesting conference calls with children barging in. I think we had one where my youngest, Charlie, threw a potato at me in the middle of beaming live to various offices around the world, but we just were able to roll with it and muddle through.
And do you think having so many females in leadership roles in Allen Overy helped that decision come so quickly that maybe female partners had to juggle as well, like you said. So they understood the challenges that the rest of the workforce, and especially female workforce, were going through.
I think that's absolutely right. Everyone was in the same boat and they equally weren't able to make all of the calls in the way they previously were. So there was an awful lot of give and take, and I think that paid out and we managed to get through it. And actually probably some long-term benefits have come out of that in terms of an appreciation for a hybrid working model rather than a complete working from home. But I think our aim now is to get to 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, which will be actually wonderful for me personally, to be able to be at home immediately at the end of the day with the boys rather than the commute and all of that. So that will make just an awful lot of difference.
And it's nice to have that balance, like you say. Sometimes if you're at home, you think about putting the next wash on or what you're going to make for dinner. Yeah. Exactly. Or, right, I have to go and collect from school, or there's always something to be done, which is nice. But then to be able to be in the office part of the week as well, that you can focus and get stuff done. I think you work more productively whenever you have a certain amount of hours.
I think that's right. I think that's a sort of working mothers everywhere will agree with that. So you can't play any of those games of, presenteeism, just being at your desk so everybody sees you at your desk. You really got to make the most of the time that you have, and you get to be quite ruthlessly efficient.
You do, definitely. I've discovered that myself as well. Also plenty of late nights working, trying not to get mum guilt, that you can get a bit of play in, and then once they're in bed, then you sit down at the desk again and
Absolutely.
Get your work done. And you had mentioned as well that you were meant to come off maternity and go into the office, which I'm sure even for yourself, to mentally prepare for that, it doesn't just switch on that all of a sudden you're leaving your child and going back to the office. You do have to be prepared. So I had seen that Allen Overy had the Return to Work programme, I'm Back, that they actually won the Gender Diversity Project of the Year at the Women in Law Awards last year for that. Did you avail of that, or was that something maybe that you can tell us a bit about that has helped other females in Allen and Overy?
Yeah, sure. So the I'm Back actually has been implemented to address the loss of talent, where people go off and spend a prolonged period of time raising a young family and are coming back to the workforce after sort of 3+ years out. It can knock your confidence a little, and things do move on, and you're maybe not completely up to speed with the latest technology, or you don't know the new clients or the new ways of working or the new faces in the office, and it is all a bit daunting. The programme really seeks to equip those returners with training and the knowledge and the skill set to be back up to speed and operating where they were at the level they were all those years ago, just to give them really the confidence and the boost to come back to the office, and that people will be patient and take their time, and there's a way back. So at the moment that initiative runs from our London office, but we are in the process of planning how we can roll it out in Belfast as well.
And it's great to have, like you said, it's in head office in London, but even that they've implemented that and then filtered up to Northern Ireland is great.
Exactly. So in London, it's mainly focused on the A&O alumni, but it would be great when it's rolled out in Belfast too.
Perfect. And Rosie, I haven't spoken to you for a while, so do you think gender diversity, do you think there's a good level of it in the legal profession? Do you think that there's perhaps more that could be done?
I suppose from my perspective, my experience has just been with A&O, which obviously has been very diverse. There's women in lots of senior roles. In terms of the broader profession, I'm sure Sarah can answer that one. Pass over to you.
I think it has come a long way, certainly since I started out. I remember very well the days when you would sit up all night negotiating a share purchase agreement or something, and then everyone would come in for the signing meeting and I would be asked to make the coffee. I'd be like, but I did all this work. I think those days are hopefully and thankfully behind us. And I think that firms have really cottoned on to the fact that there's so much talent there, and they're wasting it if they don't allow some degree of flexibility and remove the obstacles for the women in their employment.
And like you'd said earlier, Allen and Overy have flexible working and stuff like that in place, and that really is removing the obstacles, isn't it? And they're not just all talk, they're actually putting these procedures in to help females.
And you can see how it plays out then.
Exactly. So I suppose we'll finish on if either of you have maybe 2 or 3 pieces of advice for females starting in law, maybe from you, Sarah, who you've been in it for a few years, you've kind of, run of the mill. And then Rosie, if you have anything, just obviously from first starting out.
Okay, and maybe kick it off then, Rosie, if that's okay. I would always advise people to be true to themselves. So I think when I started out, I probably tried to model myself quite a lot on some of the male stereotypes. You had to be there sitting at your desk, you had to be quite aggressive and bullshit on calls, you had to be, well, not that I ever played golf, but you had to be doing those sorts of things to get ahead. And I actually think now I've realised that you have to know your own worth and what value you can bring, and just be confident in that. Don't try to follow anybody else's model. You're there for a reason. You just work the way you work. The rewards will come.
Yeah, I was going to say be confident, so definitely just echoing what Sarah said. And yeah, don't be afraid to speak up and to put yourself out there. I think as women sometimes we're not as confident, and we think certain roles should be male-led, or there's just a stereotype. But I think be true to yourself, as Sarah said, and be confident in your own ability.
Set your own boundaries, I think, is important too. I have never really found any great pushback when I say I can't do a call at 8 a.m. because it's school run time. If I'm very clear about that from the outset, people respect that. There's never any issue. But I know there was definitely a time in my career where I would have felt the need to be there and make whatever arrangements were possible in the background to make that happen. That's definitely something I would encourage people to do, just to set their own boundaries, and maybe even find a mentor within your organisation who's walked that walk and can help you shape those boundaries as you move through your own career.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really good piece of advice, especially for law students here who perhaps only have limited work experience and are in an academic setting, to then go out into the workforce and not really know what to expect. So having the confidence to do that, and then a mentor who can help guide them through everything. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been lovely.
You have been listening to LawPod, an informed take on current events, brought to you by the law students and staff at Queen's University Belfast. LawPod is funded by the Queen's University Law School. Follow us on Twitter at QUB LawPod. For more information, you can also visit our website, lawpod.org, and please have a look in the show notes for more information about the topics covered today. You can find us on iTunes or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening.